Hello and welcome to the fifth part of our series International Project Management. Today we're going to talk about the first phase when it comes to the product life cycle of a project, which is the project development phase. So the project development phase is the first phase of a project. So a project, like a product, is running through a certain kind of life cycle, which is the development phase. So that's the initiation phase of the project. Then you need to plan it. So you set up different kind of responsibilities, what are the tasks to be done. Then you execute as the third step. And finally, you have the completion phase. So let's look at the first one, the development phase. What is important here? What are the key elements in the phase? Here we have the, I'm sorry about that. So here we have the different kind of phases like said. And of course the project manager is responsible and is the key central manager when it comes to all phases here. So development, planning, execution, completion. First, the development phase is also the phase of project preparation. So the initiation. So first, there's somebody who's initiating the project. He needs to give an idea about the project, what needs to be done, what are the key objectives, and what are tasks and responsibilities, how many people do we need. And this is initiator, or this is coming from what we discussed in an earlier part, is coming from the so-called project sponsor. So he or she is the one who's initiating the project. He's the one who has the greatest interest in the project, so he's the initiator of the project. Then you need to clarify the goals and objectives which need to be accomplished and need to be achieved. Then you need to formulate the project mission, so this is very similar to the goals. You have to establish the project organization. We touched base upon that, the structure. We touched base upon that in the fourth part. So I recall we have the staff organization, we have the matrix organization, and we have the pure project organization. And in the development phase, in the preparation phase, you also have a kickoff meeting where the people who work in the project are assembling, coming together and talking about the objectives, talking about the different kind of structure, talking about the different kind of tasks, etc., etc. We will look at that in more depth at a later slide. What are the core issues or tasks in the project development phase? First, you have to answer the question, why? This is about the mission, the goals. Why is the project being carried out? What are the general overarching objectives that need to be accomplished? Then, what has to be done? So, what are the specific qualitative and quantitative project aims? So what do you want to achieve in terms of, for example, turnover increase, in terms of profitability, but also in terms of probably soft goals like customer satisfaction. We come to this later on. Who is responsible? Who has which role? How many people do we need for the project to carry it out, to implement it? So this is also the question, do we need external advice? Do we need external lawyers, for example? Because our lawyers, they are blocked in other projects, they have a very heavy workload, and there are simply no resources internally. So all this needs to be answered as well. Then how much? What is the cost? What is the budget which is involved? This is also depending on the goals and on the resources that are being used. How? So what approach should be taken? Which means how many resources do we need and how should the information flow in the project itself. So should there be, for example, a project drive in the organization? Should it be set up by the IT department? Who should access that? Shall the people communicate via email, via telephone conferences, etc., etc.? This also depends on who. So if they're all sitting in one office, they can physically meet and talk to each other. But in a lot of instances, we're talking about international project management here. There are so-called virtual project team. So one person may be sitting in Australia, the other one sitting in somewhere in America, in Canada. So, and they need to also work on a project together. So a lot will be done via video conferences, via teleconferences, using Skype and Adobe Connect and all these kind of technical platforms. When is the start of the project? When does it, or is it meant to be completed? Is it meant to be finished? And how well also? Which goals have to be achieved? To which extent? This depends a bit on the magic triangle we talked about in the second part of this series. What is very, very important in project management is that all goals that are specified are SMART. So they have to be specific, they have to be measurable, they have to be assignable and also ambitious. You may also write, and this is also for ambitious. They have to be realistic and they have to be time related. What does it mean? If you, for example, state that you want to, I don't know, establish a customer relationship management, a loyalty card, a customer relationship system which involves a loyalty card, and you want to increase or customer satisfaction, for example, significantly. This is not a SMART goal, because what does it mean, increasing customer satisfaction? You cannot really measure that, can you? And this is the issue. A lot of goals which are specified within projects, they are not SMART. So this is the key challenge you always have to take into consideration. If you want, for example, to establish a loyalty card and you want to increase the customer satisfaction, you need to state, for example, I want to increase customer satisfaction significantly, and I track that, I measure that by saying that I want to decrease the number of customer complaints by 10%. And because customer complaints are directly related to customer satisfaction, this is SMART. We can understand that because this is direct measure for customer satisfaction. Or you have a specific questionnaire which you design, which you probably carry out on an annual basis. You have a market research department or institute which does it for you, and they go out and ask your customers how satisfied they are with your products and services. And for example, I don't know, you have a 1 to 10 scale, or you use, I don't know, measures like the Net Promoter Score or something similar, and you say, I want to increase the score by 2.5% by the end of this year. So this would be a SMART goal. So always pay attention to have your goal really SMART, because a lot of projects don't have it. And if you don't have that, you have an issue, you have a challenge at the end. So for example, if you state successful introduction or implementation of a certain kind of business system of a product in the Indian market. What does it mean, successful? Does it involve, I don't know, 1 million profit? Does it involve only, I don't know, 500,000 loss? Nobody knows. So that needs to be, this is not specific, and you always need to be very, very specific. Also, for example, I give you another example from real life. If you state that you want to increase the aided recall of advertisement by 2.5%. This sounds very specific, but it's not, because the time is lacking. You can only say, I want to increase the aided recall of my customers when it comes to my advertising campaign by 2.5% by the end of March this year. So this would be a very specific goal. This would be a SMART goal. So I cannot I cannot overemphasize the importance of this acronym, of this tool. Then there are two things which are important. So one is, in project management, one is called requirement specifications. And this paper, this requirement specification, they are set up at the beginning, and it's the rough concept of the project. The project sponsor usually provides the broad requirement specifications. And then you have to work on the functional specifications. So how can we achieve that goal? So what needs to be done in order to arrive at that? So this includes the requirement specifications and describes a detailed solution concepts to achieve that. So what are the tasks that need to be done in detail in order to accomplish the overall objective which have been laid down and stated in the requirement specifications section? So finally, a kickoff meeting is the essential part in the framework of the development phase. What does it involve? First, like said, who's meeting? Who's coming together? Usually it's the project team with a project manager as well as the project sponsor. So the project sponsor usually is also part of the kickoff meeting. Doesn't need to be, but usually it makes sense to do so. And then a lot of questions are being answered, are raised as well. So what is the initial situation? So what is the objective of the project? Where are you coming from? What is starting point? So what is the duration of the project, right? What is the aim, like I said? What is the objective? Needs to be smart. So we need to challenge that. It needs to be smart. And what team rules are there? So how's the communication being set up? Who's responsible for which kind of task or different kind of setup of different kind of responsibilities? Who's responsible for that? What are the roles and expectations of the project members? How's the project set up at the organization, as staff, matrix, or as a pure project organization? Then you have to allocate the tasks, and the time is this is just a rough thing here, so better neglect that. But what is important, it depends on the project. For example, you need to specify how often are you meeting with your project team members. Are you meeting once a week or twice a week? Where are you meeting? Are you having, if it's an international project and people are not physically located in an office, you have to set up Skype conferences in advance. You have to block that. This is very advisable. You have to block that in advance by a meeting request, an appointment in the calendar. You have to also specify whether you need, how you share information. So if you have, of course, it makes sense to have a project drive set up by the IT department, which everybody can access. And you also need to specify how often are you communicating via email, who's responsible for which kind of role, etc., etc. So there are a lot of things to be set up at the kickoff meeting. So these are only the most important bullet points. Okay, thanks very much. This was the 5th part of our series International Project Management. Thanks for watching, for your positive feedback, and we are very much looking forward to seeing you again on this channel. Thanks very much. Good luck with your projects, and bye-bye.